Hi everyone, my name is Sergey Gribnyak. I operate my own development company Singly for more than 6 years. It's also known under the name Clever Solution.
And my name is Michael, and I'm the founder of Beginx, a product and UX prototyping marketplace.
Today we are at MongoDB HQ in Times Square. MongoDB is a cross-platform document-oriented database is on the rise. Thousands of companies use MongoDB, including Adobe, Amadeus, Cisco Systems, eBay, BNP Paribas, LinkedIn, Yandex, and many others. Here with us today Alex Komyagin, Senior Consulting Engineer of MongoDB. And today we are going to discuss the company and ask Alex some technical questions. Hi Alex, tell us something about you.
Hey Sergey, I was born and raised in St. Petersburg, Russia. I studied computer science at St. Petersburg State Polytechnical University. Funny enough, when I went there, I wanted to be a system administrator, but I guess it was just a lucky coincidence that it turned out not to be the area that I was really interested in, and it wasn't the area that they were teaching. So it worked out pretty well, and I'm very grateful to our I'm very grateful for all the hard work that our professors put, and they taught me a lot. And while I was studying there, I was working for Motorola Solutions, the enterprise branch of Motorola, and we were working on integrating their proprietary Bluetooth stack on Android and Windows C, which is like Windows 98 for mobile. And after I graduated, I continued working for them, and I worked leading our small team towards integration for Android. And my parents, by that time, they already moved to the United States, and I just decided at some point to move here too. And I got, once I moved here, I got a technical services engineer position here at MongoDB. Originally, I wanted to be a software developer and I was looking for a software engineering position, but I also felt like it would be a good idea to work more with people rather than with code. And when I had an interview with MongoDB, I was talking a lot with Ron. Back then he was our vice president for the whole field team. And he was incredibly technical, and he spent more than an hour talking to me during the interview process, and that means a lot, and it's a great sign that vice president is super technical. So I joined MongoDB, and it's kind of funny. I joined on April 1st, so there are a lot of jokes about that. And I also joined just after 3 weeks I came to the US. So it was a little bit of a shocking experience because like whole different culture, environment, and the whole MongoDB team, like everyone, was helping me with like adjusting to this new environment. And after 2 years of an exciting work in technical services department, I moved to our professional services, which is pretty much the same in terms of working with people, helping them to solve problems. But there is also a very important difference that now I can work with people face to face, and now I can better understand how to help them more.
Thank you.
Alex, so you work at Mongo since 2013. Since the company has grown and became a very strong player on the market since that time, what do you think is the secret of its success? Is it great leadership or really good product?
When I joined MongoDB, we had a very small office on Prince Street, downtown New York, and there were like maybe 40 people there, and almost never free conference rooms. And now our office, as you can see, is huge, and we moved to Times Square. We also have offices around the US, in Palo Alto, in Austin. We have offices around the world, in Sydney, and Tel Aviv, in Dublin, and New Delhi, India, in Paris, France. And I think that both factors, both management and the product itself are very important for our growth. our engineering team is working very hard on improving the database, and not just database, but all products, because we now have a cloud manager, ops manager, Compass, BI connector. We'll talk about it later, and we also have MongoDB drivers for all kinds of different languages. And our management is striving to build MongoDB as a great company. But frankly, I think there's much more beyond that. Here I learned that people is the crucial factor for any business success. I think we have amazing people in all the departments throughout the company, and we communicate with each other. We try to work as a unit, as one team, and it's part of our values in MongoDB to make sure that everyone brings something to the table, whether it's passion or in-depth knowledge of some area or both. And of course, just like any fast-growing international companies with offices around the world, we're facing similar challenges, especially communication challenges. Because when I go back home from New York office, people in Sydney are waking up. I don't know what is going on with people like somewhere else. And I think that we are overcoming them successfully, mainly because we have commitment on all levels of the company.
Have you been in other offices except United States, Sydney?
I've never been to Sydney, but I've been to Texas office, and I've been to Palo Alto office.
Great. What can you tell us about the history of MongoDB? Any important stages of the company development?
Every year, we as a company go through many different changes, both organizational and technological. And if I have to pick just a couple, I would say that moving our headquarters from Palo Alto, California to New York was definitely a big one. I think that allowed us to move to be closer to the action, and it's very important from the logistical point of view, because here in New York you have all kind of offices, different enterprises, banks, media companies, and it's all very close in this dense area, so most offices just train right away. And another bigger organizational change was the appointment of the new CEO, Dave. And with him, we started to focus more heavily on becoming a very efficient organization. And we had some restructuring in our professional services and our sales departments, primarily to make it easier for our customers to work with us. And lately, it's also notable that we are putting additional efforts on building the MongoDB ecosystem with different tools for MongoDB, with different products, especially that improve operational experience. For instance, Ops Manager, Cloud Manager, MongoDB Automation, Managed Backups, Compass.
Great. Alex, what can you tell us about your personal responsibilities at work at MongoDB? Any remarkable facts, moments, your role in general?
I work in our professional services department, which basically provides our clients with help and expertise for their MongoDB projects. And we offer help on all stages for all kinds of projects, whether it's a POC, an already existing project, or it might be like a private cloud, it might be even an internal database as a service. And sometimes I deliver 2 training engagements where we teach people best practices, how to operate MongoDB, how to develop for MongoDB. But not including those pure training engagements, my job consists of 2 main parts. It's helping customers to define their requirements and understand their project goals. And the second part is to actually find like solutions or options how they can achieve those goals. Sometimes it's global architecture design problems. Sometimes it's a very specific area like helping someone to pick a good chart here. And when I have spare time, doesn't happen often, but sometimes I do, I help my team by reviewing others' reports. I try to share my knowledge within the company. And of course, when I see something not working, I file bug reports. And sometimes I guess it might be quite annoying for my engineering team here, because my position requires it requires good understanding of MongoDB internals. It requires understanding of our future plans, and I always ask a lot of questions, and I always share the feedback, whether it's positive feedback or something that prompts our engineers to reassess their assumptions. But so far they've been coping with me, and for that I'm grateful. I also travel a lot for my work, and I enjoy it. I enjoy visiting cool places. A few months ago I went to Alabama, and to be honest, it looks very different from what I got used to in New York City. A lot. But we went to that local barbecue place, which was called Landmark Barbecue, I believe. And by far I think that was probably the best barbecue I tried in my life. And it doesn't look fancy. The building is just like an old one-story building next to some road. But the car, very expensive cars next to it, that's what like reveals the truth.
Good advertising for them, actually.
Reveals the luxury.
Yeah. Back to MongoDB. What are the main benefits of MongoDB compared to other NoSQL solutions? Who is your main competitor?
Personally, I'm a big believer that as a developer or as an architect, you have the responsibility to pick the most suitable tool or the most suitable solution for a problem. And right now you have a very wide variety of different tools, solutions, and they are all readily available. MongoDB is one of them. And every solution, it has its own strong points. In this sense, MongoDB is somewhat unique, because we are trying to build a general solution and not a niche product, and this general solution can be used in different domains. Our end goal is to give our users the best of both worlds. On one end, we want to give them an enterprise-grade product with a rich functionality and that is easy to use, and on the other end, we want to give them a product that scales and that supports their data requirements with minimal effort. And among well-known benefits of MongoDB, like high availability, scalability, flexible schema, great developer experience, ease of use, I will list the ecosystem and great support. Those are very important. And in the last few years, we undertook the effort to provide ops teams with additional tools to operationalize MongoDB, like our Cloud Manager, which is our own cloud-based solution, and Ops Manager, which is its on-premise version. And those tools, they include monitoring, automation, backup. We also put a lot of effort into integrating with existing enterprise ecosystem. For instance, recently we released the iConnector, which is a tool that allows you to connect and query MongoDB through a regular SQL interface, so you can use it to connect to MongoDB through BI tools. And we are consistently and constantly working on all of our products, and that is happening non-stop. For any issues that our customers are facing, we have our world-class support team that is always there to help.
Impressive.
Alex, so nothing in this world is perfect, right? So what can be improved in MongoDB? For example, there are myths about MongoDB, memory issues, and file corruption. There's also an opinion that MongoDB is mainly suitable for smaller projects. So what would you say about it?
Another tricky question from Michael.
Well, thanks for that question. First of all, I'd like to be very clear that MongoDB is used in thousands of projects, and those projects are in production, and many of them are mission critical. So the claim that MongoDB is only suitable for a small project, it's just a myth. And for file corruptions and different kinds of issues that you can find on the internet, well, internet has a lot of information, And you shouldn't believe all of it. Most of those things are just speculation. In my technical services past, I've been working on the number of issues related to corruption, and they were all traced back to faulty disks or file system issues. And it's worth noting that our replication in our replica sets, it's statement-based, so it actually helps in those cases because it helps to prevent data loss as opposed to binary replication, which is used in SAM. And with all that said, nothing is perfect, right? And with every release, whether it's a major release or minor release, Ramon, our program manager, he puts together release notes. And there you can actually see all the work that had been done on a particular release and what specific things were fixed or improved. And it's easy to see all this effort and the rate of improvement. And since version 3.0 we support a new storage engine, WireTiger, and since version 3.2 that's the default, and WireTiger brings a lot of features to our database, and in the future it will enable us to do even more cool things. And there are a couple of important things about WireTiger. We changed how we allocate memory there, and we changed the way we manage disk space. In WireTiger by default you have compression, and in the field it's typically 5 to 10 times compared to the non-compressed version. And you also get this almost for free because I never saw any noticeable increase in the CPU usage. And the previous default storage engine, mmap, it was somewhat sensitive to file system corruption because there was no way to know if a particular disk block was corrupted and to what extent. In WireTiger, they store checksums for their pages, so MongoDB can tell if a particular page was damaged and to what extent, and it makes MongoDB more robust. Another important thing that WireTiger addresses is locking. Prior to MongoDB 3.0, we had database level locking, meaning that for every database you can either have multiple readers or you can have one single writer. With WireTiger, they have log-free algorithms, and they use something similar to MVCC pattern. So essentially they allow us to have document level locking, which is as granular as it gets. And on systems with very good disks, where disk is not a bottleneck, we can easily saturate all CPUs. And that means that thousands of write operations on average systems is not news anymore, it's pretty usual. And for version 3.2, our engineering team has also reworked their application protocol. In fact, we have like the whole new application protocol, which is Raft-based. And one consequence of this is that our replica set elections are now much faster. Before they were 10-30 seconds, now on average it's 2 to 5 seconds, so it's like 6 times improvement. And we also provide stronger durability guarantees to our customers. And I think right now a lot of our customers are looking into improvements in sharding. Internally, sharding is a very complicated machinery because we need to allow our users to scale without sacrificing any durability or consistency guarantees. And MongoDB does make an outstanding job of hiding this complexity from the developers, but internally we do need to have some additional components like query routers, like big servers, and there is a certain operational overhead. And I guess it would be nice to get rid of that overhead and make it at least very minimal. And we are already making steps in that direction. In MongoDB 3.2, we support config servers as a replica set, which eliminates some complexities in sharding administration. And that was just about the core product, right? So for biggest customers, we need to help them to manage many different clusters with many different nodes. And let's say you have a 250 node cluster, like 50 shards of node replica set each. And we have procedures, manual procedures, to upgrade that cluster without downtime. But it's still a manual procedure, which is fine for a 3-node replica set, but once we're talking about like 50 shard cluster, it becomes very involved. And it takes time too. So now we have a cloud manager, ops manager, and we are putting a lot of efforts there. And they give our customers automation, backup, monitoring, and with automation you can perform this upgrade of your 50 shard cluster with just a few button clicks, and it's a few minutes away. So it's really useful, but it's also fair to say that backups and automation are fairly new features, and I think they hold a lot of potential, and they are already being used in many production systems. However, just like with any new feature, especially on such a well-established market as ours, it will take a little bit of time for them to meet all the existing enterprise requirements. Another thing that I wanted to notice that MongoDB has a flexible schema, and that means that we do not impose any restrictions, or we do not give you any fixed design for the structure of your documents, right? So you can store data in the form that is mostly convenient for your application needs and for your queries. Ironically, sometimes it results in people not having a very clear idea of what exactly is in their database, and it's understandable because for big projects, the software goes through many different stages of the life cycle, and it's pretty common to see that the document schema in MongoDB evolves with the product evolution, and it might result in something like not knowing what's inside, what exactly is stored in the database, and some surprises. And I guess for 1,000 documents, you can just inspect them one by one. When you have millions or billions of documents, it's no longer feasible. So we released this new tool, Compass, and for those who haven't heard of it, I recommend to try it. It allows our users to get a better understanding and insight into what exactly they're storing there. And recently, I actually saw a very interesting case where we used Compass, and we found out that the customer was using like dashes, or in 95% cases on their fields, and they were not interested in those dashes. So we just used partial indexes to avoid indexes those dashes, and we saved a lot of space on indexes. So I think that's a very important use case.
Understood. MongoDB cannot do collation-based sorting, and it's limited to byte-wise comparison via memcmp, which will not provide correct ordering to many non-English languages, which, when used with the Unicode encoding. Could we please get an update about it? It could be important for many non-English speaking users.
Yes, the short answer is that we are actively working on that. It's just not a very trivial thing to do, because a change like this will affect many different parts of the system, including query engine, indexing, sharding, and it's very hard to say right now how this feature will look like from the user interface point of view, or even what exactly will be done in the time frame of our next release, MongoDB 3.4. But rest assured, we know this that this is a very important thing for our non-English speaking users, and we are actively working on this.
Alex, so there are two well-known benchmarks by United Software Associates and Endpoint. about MongoDB performance, but this benchmark suggests the opposite results. What can you tell about it?
Another tricky question.
Yeah, I get all the tricky ones. I think something was set up, so I get the tricky question.
Personally, I'm quite skeptical about usefulness of benchmarks in our modern database world. Primarily because those benchmarks tend to give you different results, and sometimes they're even used as a weapon of speculation. MongoDB itself as a database is very flexible. We allow you to optimize your schema for your actual application needs. We allow you to pick a different deployment model depending on your exact requirements, like a replica set for high availability, a sharded cluster to scale your load. And you can build secondary indexes to support your queries. There are a lot of things that you can do, and proper schema design and a proper deployment model, in my experience, give you optimal performance results. But your personal performance results for your specific project, they won't really be applicable to somebody else's projects who have their own requirements, their own queries, their own schema, data model, and so on. And as such, I find that benchmarks, they are not very useful, and they mostly tend to confuse people. It's also important to understand that databases and our database is an ever-growing product. So any performance-related published benchmarks become outdated very quickly. And performance is one of our main priorities. Sometimes benchmarks, they can be useful in tracking improvements in the product. For instance, we had our own benchmarks released about a year ago for MongoDB 3.0, where we compared performance of MongoDB 3.0 with WireTiger and MongoDB 2.6. And that was quite an insightful benchmark because it showed that MongoDB 3.0 was performing 4 times faster for read-mostly workloads and about 6 times faster for balanced 50-50 read-write workloads. I guess now numbers must be even higher. As a general advice, I always say that building a POC, a good POC, is always a much better time investment than studying the benchmarks.
Great answer, but it did not last tricky questions. We have one more. We have one more.
Maybe 4 more.
To implement simple page results in MongoDB, you can use cursor.skip method. Yet it isn't very effective when used with large collections. For example, the query is proceed far too long. Are you going to fix that? I mean, if the issue is described in documentation, but what do you think about it?
Good question. In order to properly answer this, I have to go a little bit into details of how cursor.skip actually works. To perform this skip, the cursor.skip method first has to find the position in the index, right? Your index is a tree. So first it has to find a position in the index, and then it has to traverse through a fixed number of index keys, which is like the number of things that you want to skip. And because index is a tree, it's very efficient in finding a specific element or scanning a range of elements. But there are no shortcuts to skip a fixed number of elements, right? So for that, you have to actually go through index keys and count the things you're skipping, right? And that results in I/O load, because if your index is big, it doesn't fit into the memory, and you're skipping a huge amount of index keys, then it can take time. It might be a very heavy operation on your disk I/O. That's why usually we advise to use a different method for pagination. If you need to skip 1,000 elements, that's fine. Sometimes even up to like tens of thousands is still fine, depending on whether your index is in memory or not. But for maintaining a big number of pages and having consistent performance, we recommend to use range-based pagination because it's a much more efficient way to implement page results. The idea is very easy. For every page that you display, you track the first element according to your unique sort key and the last element. And if you're displaying the next page, you just start the rendering results that are greater than the last result on the current page. If you're going to the previous page, you just render things that are before the first element of your current page, right? And this solution, it's always consistent. It always gives great performance regardless of the page number.
Thanks, Alex. On MongoDB community, you guys listen a lot to suggestions from the community, or do you just keep developing the product without that? For instance, if you have added a new feature and nobody really likes it, what would you do?
Great question. Our product management team has regular meetings with our users, and they're getting their feedback, and in general we are actively listening to our community, and we always take community suggestions into consideration. A good example of that is the $ lookup aggregation pipeline stage in MongoDB 3.2. Originally we intended to ship it only in MongoDB Enterprise, but based on our community feedback, we changed our decision, and as you probably know, that $ lookup, which is essentially left outer join, is now available in MongoDB Community Edition. And in general, I think it's very important for a company, for an open source company like ours, to hear the feedback, but also to maintain the actual vision of the product at the same time. So far, I think we've been quite good at that. And another good example is SSL support, which until recently was only available in MongoDB Enterprise, or you had to compile MongoDB yourself with the SSL support to get it. Now it's included in official Community Edition packages.
It's great to know.
Great improvement. With all the above, whom would you recommend using MongoDB? Who is your main customer? Big corporations, small businesses, startups? Which projects are better to use with MongoDB? Give us some example. Which technologies can be easily combined with MongoDB?
I think it's not realistic to draw a line by the size of the company or by the nature of the business or specific domain. In my job in the field, I see lots of different businesses, lots of different use cases every day, and you can see big banks, you can see hedge funds, you can see healthcare, media, big and small startups, and so on. And some use cases are just more interesting than the others sometimes. Not so long ago, I was working with a biopharma company, and they store genome metadata in MongoDB for post-processing. It's also worth noting that deployment topologies and sizes, they vary greatly as well. Some deployments, they span different geographical continents. Some deployments, they store hundreds of terabytes of data. Some have hundreds of shards. Somebody has 100 megabyte per second write throughput. Somebody has like 99.999% latency requirements. And that's actually eBay. And it is. And in the last couple of years, I see that many enterprises, they are moving away from SQL solutions to MongoDB, and new features, scalability, performance. I think all of that plays a very big role. But money has its role too. Sometimes Oracle can be just too expensive. In the data lake terminology, MongoDB is used as an operational data store, and Hadoop or Spark, they're typically used for heavy-duty ad hoc analytics. And for me, it makes sense because MongoDB works best when you know your data, when you know your application needs, and you can optimize your queries, you can optimize your schema for that and your data model. And it's way different from modern analytics and BI, where typically users don't know in advance what the exact queries they will run or what exact data they will need for those queries. And as such, Hadoop or Spark are used there more often. MongoDB does have a very powerful aggregation framework that is frequently used in production for different groupings, but that's mostly a secondary use case. Overall, in terms of picking the project or picking MongoDB for a project, I think that MongoDB is worth evaluating for every project, unless it's a very specific domain with an already available very specific niche solution for it. And I also always recommend my customers to build a proper POC, to invest time in schema design, to invest time in MongoDB topology, because a lot of those factors, they affect MongoDB performance. And it shouldn't be overlooked that when you are using MongoDB, you can build the database around your application. And if we are talking about a website CMS, you can optimize your schema to render your main landing page in one database call, right? It doesn't get better than that.
Thanks, Alex. What can you tell us about cloud services? So it seems that Mongo gained a lot of popularity thanks to integration with cloud. Is that right?
There's no doubt that a lot of things right now are moving into cloud, and database services are not an exception from that. And MongoDB as a company, we have very strong partnerships with AWS, Google, and others. And while our database itself doesn't have any specific integration with any cloud service, I think that it's the simplicity of installation and the distributed nature of the database that give us some advantage there. For instance, with every cloud service right now, you can pick a region or a zone, or multiple regions and multiple zones to deploy your servers. And this is perfectly aligned with our replica set availability concept, where you can easily add new servers. It's really just one command, and you can put them into different zones or different regions to maintain your system's high availability when one or more zones go down. It doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, it's never the right time. And the way I see it, among the most popular cloud services where people are using MongoDB are AWS, Google Compute Engine, and Azure. And you can also find full database as a service solutions. But my personal preference has always been AWS, mainly because of their very flexible storage I/O model. For big data systems with terabytes of active data, disk is the thing that will determine your performance, right? It will always be the dominant factor there. While cloud makes it way easier to run your servers, you still have to manage MongoDB there yourself. And for that, we actually developed Cloud Manager and Ops Manager automation to make it easier for our users. And we also integrated it with AWS and Azure, and you can now even provision your servers from our UI. You don't have to jump around. And this is very helpful. Another important thing about cloud is that it introduces a whole new dynamic into distributed systems, because you can no longer make any assumptions about 100% availability of your network, of your disks, of your CPU, right? Everything changes, especially network, because that definitely presents new challenges to any distributed systems, and that includes MongoDB, because in MongoDB many cluster components, they have to talk to each other a lot, in sharded clusters, for example. And in the last year, we addressed a lot of issues in sharded clusters related to robustness in case of communication problems.
Thanks, Alex.
This summer, what can we expect from MongoDB World in 2016 in June?
Many interesting educational presentations. a lot of great people, and as usual, we will be unveiling some roadmap details. This event is very big for our company, and it is always as much about our users as it is about MongoDB. We have a lot of interesting headliners, including Google, Capital One, IBM, and many of our customers from around the United States and from other continents. They will be coming here to share their knowledge, to meet like-minded people, to build great connections. In general, MongoDB World is a very big thing here in our company, and every time we are trying to make it better. I heard a lot of positive opinions about the last one, so this one must be a hit.
Great.
That's awesome. Do you have any plans to present anything yourself?
With my schedule, it's very hard to commit to anything. I just obey my calendar these days, and I do whatever it says. But if I will be here in the city for this conference, I will definitely try to participate in the Enterprise Architecture for Scalable Solutions workshop. That's a completely new pre-conference activity that we will be doing this year. There will be also other workshops about Apps Manager, microservices, and others. We are still in the process of ironing out the details and the actual format, but it will be led by the actual engineers, and it will be very practical, it will be very useful. For our users from Europe who can't come to New York this summer, we will be hosting MongoDB Europe in London in November.
Great. I'm sure that the conference will go well. Lastly, I wanted to ask about the future of MongoDB. Some new features, new partnerships.
So far, our tradition had been to announce this kind of news at MongoDB World, and I think we will keep this tradition this year. And as the level of adoption increases, especially by enterprise customers, we are facing new requirements, we are facing new challenges, and we are consistently discovering new customers' needs. Our product management team is constantly engaged in a dialogue between us and our users. So you will see that a lot of changes that are coming, they're coming as a direct consequence of that dynamic. And without spoiling things too much, I can say that on this conference there will be all the things you mentioned, new features, new partnerships, and there will be more products, everything.
Alex, thank you for interesting answers. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to comment or ask any questions.